Like no one likes to sit up. Like I'm one of the few. Like sure, I'll take a front row seat. Like you guys.
I like the front row because then I don't have to worry about a big group.
At the city council meetings, the way the chambers go around, you have to sit either back a little bit so you can
It is so awkward. Yeah.
Or like you can't the pole
And make sure I'm on silence.
and the sounds are like echoey. I can't. Yeah. It's a challenge, but it's all right. I think it probably works pretty good.
Yeah, I think for that it's fine. You just don't have 7 people sitting up front.
Some of those sound. We put them in the deli.
Yeah, exactly.
From the ceiling, and we looked in the
Some
deli.
acoustic
those
tile
sound
kind of thing.
dampening, and it's just styrofoam basically. But
That's
it
what the
really
Oxbow
sucks up the reverb. And I don't know that they're super expensive. You should be able to get a couple of these. And just put them on that back wall.
Right now, I left my family seat, but I'm gonna send it over right now.
But we had bad problems with everything
I have
from
one
the
that's
store
from my birthday
reverbing
party.
to
It's
the
like a little bit
deli.
electro, a little
The
bit.
deli could not hear anything. Really distracting.
And that's where you have tons of conversation.
Yeah. So we put those. We put like 8 of them.
Quadruple checking.
Dramatic.
It's done.
He's all by himself.
Okay, well, I'm gonna get up.
turned mine
I'm
all
gonna
the way
sit at the
off.
back on the edge, and I'm gonna get up.
Alan might have turned his all the way off.
There you go. That's really the way to ditch it. I put my brother on call. So you're going to be the chief microphone passer here, Michelle.
I guess I'm the sandwich. But I think are we in alphabetical order or
I
something?
think we are.
Or Switzerland. That would make sense. But you think it'd be the other way?
All right. We could throw things for a loop and do it quick.
I don't.
Switch
Yeah.
your
Ready, rock, paper, scissors.
You should time everything.
Okay.
Nobody gets extra time.
I'm all for a good game of rock, paper,
We're gonna be
I always yell out grenade. Beats them all.
right?
I know.
Or what is it
Did you read that thing that Lloyd forwarded to people, I guess?
Rock, paper, scissors, but he does like
was an email
live long and
conversation.
prosper or something. I don't know.
That spot thing.
Yeah. I'm like signing okay, but
A total. Okay.
my fingers got confused.
These two really good at that. Spreading them apart, bringing them back together. Then my arthritis hit. Turned out not to be arthritis. It was carpal tunnel.
Good evening.
Here we go.
Yes, here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. Welcome to this evening's primary election candidate forums for Lander Mayor and for Lander City Council. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Fremont County, thank you for joining us this evening. The League is a nonpartisan grassroots organization and part of the National League of Women Voters founded in 1920. I'm Michelle Escudero, and I'm the chair of Fremont County League's Education and Outreach Committee. It's a big, long name, right? During the primary election season, we are pleased to host 11 candidate forums in Lander, Riverton, and Shoshone. We dedicate this season's work to the Fremont League founder and Wyoming League president, Linda Barton, who left us too quickly this past spring. We're carrying on her work in our county and across Wyoming to promote our democracy and improve our election process. I want to take a moment to thank our partners who helped make these forums possible. County 10 for hosting our live stream, and WYO Today for partnering and publishing our voter guide being mailed throughout the county. We would like to thank the county clerk's office, Julie Fries, and her staff for their continued support of the League's work and exceptional work they do to run the election process and register voters. Tonight's live stream will be available tomorrow on County 10's website, YouTube, Facebook, and the League's website at lwv10.org. We also thank Fremont County Public Library for hosting us tonight. And finally, we thank a crew of volunteers, as well as our timekeeper moderator, who have contributed countless of hours to make these public forums a success. The League's mission is simple: to empower voters through education and encourage informed participation in our democracy. The League does not support or oppose political parties or candidates. Instead, the League provides unbiased voter information and creates opportunities like tonight's forums for voters to hear directly from candidates and make their informed decisions. When a qualified candidate or political party is absent from a public forum, the voters lose the opportunity to hear, compare, and evaluate the full range of perspectives before casting their ballots. The League serves as a neutral facilitator. Each candidate receives equal time, and every candidate controls 100% of their own message. Our role is simple: to provide a fair and respectful forum where voters, not the League, evaluate candidates and their positions. We believe this openness strengthens confidence in our elections and our representative government. If you'd like to receive education information and voter information, future League events and announcements, please add your name to our sign-up sheet by the entrance table. You can also find unbiased candidate information through our print and digital voter guide online at vote411.org. We thank the candidates for being here tonight and for participating in our democracy process. An informed electorate is the foundation of a strong community, and your presence tonight really reflects your commitment to Lander and to our democracy. And now, please welcome Maggie Miller, who will begin tonight's forum.
Good evening. I am indeed Maggie Miller, and I am the forum moderator this evening. I'm also the mother of two children, two daughters I've raised here in Wyoming, in Lander. One of them is here, and I'll probably embarrass her by staring at her. Both my daughters have the good fortune to be enrolled in the Washington School of Medicine through the collaboration with the school, with the University of Wyoming in Laramie. It's called WWAMI. Some of you are perhaps familiar with it. I've got this one here who just finished a stint as a wrangler with the Allen family up out of Dickinson Park. She starts next week, and the other one is most of the way through doing rotations. I personally am a lawyer. I work in the 9th Judicial District, both in Sublette County and Pinedale primarily, and in Fremont County here in the Lander Courthouse, representing abused and neglected children primarily. I'm honored to be the moderator of this forum, and I do these for the League, even though I'm not a member of the League of Women Voters. I simply believe very much that democracy requires an educated electorate. People are often frustrated that things go on in Washington that they don't like. This is your chance. You live here. This is as close as it gets. And it's so great that people are here and hopefully watching the live stream to learn what these three people have to say. It is a small town. I know Missy as a colleague from Knowles years ago. Michelle Motherway was a star witness for me in a case. I haven't had the pleasure to meet you yet, Alan McComey, but I promise to not disadvantage you. These three candidates, Alan McComey, Michelle Motherway, and Missy White, two of them, the top two vote-getters, will advance to the general election. The rules for tonight's forum are, first of all, turn off your cell phone if you haven't already. We will allow each candidate to deliver a 2-minute opening statement, and we're going to let you go first, Missy, out of deference to the fact that you're the mayor right now. We're going to follow up with 10 questions, and it's going to be like speed dating. You get a minute. And Ms. Jackie Hediger, my wonderful colleague, she has a sign. You heard about it already. Yellow means 15 seconds. Red means stop. And it seems harsh, but there's a lot of topics we want to get to. In particular, we would like to invite the audience to submit some questions. After the fifth question, you can submit those to volunteers who will collect them and review them. All of the answers for everything and the closing statement is 1 minute. It's just the opening that you get to. We're confident that you're going to hear a lot of things that you agree with this evening and align with your thinking. We would appreciate it if people with not react to what the candidates are saying or applaud until the end so we can get through as many questions as possible. Thank you. Missy, once I sit down, why don't you start?
Thank you, League, for providing this opportunity. I appreciate your time and dedication to helping the public know issues and us better. I know I'm not the easiest person to get to know. I'm an introvert. I own that. I don't like drawing attention to myself, and I'm pretty sure that no one has ever described me as bubbly or warm and fuzzy on first meeting me. Also, my leadership philosophy is we, not me, so jumping into the limelight is just not my thing. Lander's been my home for almost 40 years. I didn't get to pick my birthplace, unfortunately, but like many of you in the room, I chose to make Lander my home, and I'm committed to serving friends and neighbors to make our lives better. Take a look at my Missy for Mayor Facebook page to see some of how I've engaged with and volunteered in the community. If you want to learn math, you don't start with calculus. You build it up with geometry, algebra, and so on. I've worked through the building blocks to serve competently as mayor. I started learning about local government first as a community member attending meetings, then added much more knowledge serving 6+ years on council, including 2 years in what's now known as the mayor pro tem position, and really accelerated my experience with almost 10 years as mayor. Every step greatly added to my knowledge and skills. In 2018, council began a biennial strategic plan to provide direction to staff on how to meet our constituents' needs, your needs. A major focus was to determine specifically where to address the highest need for infrastructure improvements, design projects to be qualified for additional funds, and get projects done. McFarland is done, Lincoln's almost done, Buena Vista starts shortly, Cascade, Baldwin, 9th Street, 5th Street, and Dillon Vista and more are shovel ready and waiting. We are fortunate to have a group of extremely dedicated and highly talented staff who do the work of keeping the city running. They're critical to getting things done. It's been a tremendous honor to work with them, to help them find ways to be more efficient, to create long-lasting solutions, and in doing so, make a difference in your lives.
Hello, I'm Michelle Motherway, and I'm seeking your vote for mayor. I think Lander is an amazing place to live. First of all, I would like to thank Michelle, from one Michelle to another Michelle, for stepping up and filling shoes that are impossible to fill with the passing of Linda. I'd like to compliment Interim Mayor White and Mr. McComey on being excellent candidates who share my love of this community. I've lived in many places, but Lander is my home where I was born and raised. I left to seek higher education and employment. That has given me a greater understanding and love for our hometown. Lander is made of a unique and diverse group of people. It leads that leads to different beliefs, ideas, goals, and missions. One of the things I do believe is the majority of us want basically the same things. We want safety, reasonably priced housing, access to good water, infrastructure that's maintained before it's critically broken, above average schools, activity for our children and our families to partake in. I think Lander is at a tipping point, and we need to prioritize our needs over our wants. We need transparency. We need less intrusion into our homes, our businesses, and our daily lives. We need our roads not to turn to dirt. And I personally would like to see our high school swim team continue its 30-year plus winning streak. Programs like that help our children learn that they can do hard things. People want to see a city that works for them to be friendly and to be open. They want a mayor who is responsive to listen to their stories. Lander has huge challenges ahead of it, from the things that have been neglected and not maintained for years. I want to concentrate on the basics. I promise to be transparent to the people, to aid the city council in prioritizing the needs of the city, and to be the mayor elected by the people, for the people. And I would also like to remind everybody, please vote in the primary. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Alan McComey. I'm a lifelong resident of Lander. My family started in South Pass. I've got 41 years experience working with the city of Lander. I was a member of the Lander Police Department for those 41 years. I held almost every position that could be held in the police department. I went to many council meetings as a member of the police department representing the Lander Police Department. During this time, I was able to drive the streets of Lander, and I watched our streets fall apart. That's where we're at today. That's one of my top go-to things is infrastructure. We have streets that are falling apart, curbs and gutters that need replaced, and instead the city right now is focusing on let's build some more parks. The parks we're spending way too much money on right now. We need to go to, instead of like Michelle said, what we want is what we need. And that's what I'm focusing on. I have strong leadership abilities. I am not afraid to ask the tough questions or receive a tough answer back. I believe in transparency. We do not have that right now in the city. You're allowed to talk at the start of a council meeting, but you're not allowed to talk while they're discussing the different projects that are going on. We need to stop that. We also need to make the city hall more friendly to the people that come in and have a talk with the mayor or talk with the council people. We need to have a lot more meetings for those type of things. We need to expand our water use. You just saw what happened to Flaming Gorge by being told you have to release water to other states. We need to do that up in our Worthen Meadows. We started that discussion back in, I believe, 2018, 2019, and all of a sudden now it's not there. We need to start looking at our infrastructure. Our water and sewer takes good care of themselves through the funding that we have to pay, but I think we're paying way too much. I think we need to slow down and help the people here in Lander. Lander is unique over the fact we have a lot of state employees and retirement people. Thank you.
You can keep that mic, Alan.
Okay.
We'll give you the first question. When faced with limited revenue and funds, which public services do you view as essential services to maintain, and which would you be more likely to cut?
Well, under the Wyoming state statutes and stuff, the city is responsible for 5 different funding that we must fund. That's the fire, police, water, sewer, streets. Everything else is kind of a give me. I would look at the infrastructure first. The water and sewer is paid through the water grants and the water fees that we collect, while our infrastructure, which is the streets and everything, we need to start using our money wisely and invest and get more money from the states and the federal government. At one time I was told you could, for every dollar we spend, you could leverage $9 if you do it wisely. So that's one of the areas that I would really look into.
Michelle, you want to take a stab at that?
I would love to if you'd repeat it for me.
When faced with limited revenue and funds, which public services do you view as essential services to maintain, and which would you be more likely to cut?
I think safety is the number one priority in any community, and water as well. You can't live without water. But safety first, always. So if we look at the things that our police department and our fire department does, the majority of people's money that they have in their savings is in their homes in Lander, and that's part of what the insurance rates are looking at. So if we have good fire response times, it directly affects the bottom dollar that you have in your home. So not just a safety problem, but also a money problem. The thing that I would look at cutting is the things that the same people have looked at cutting for years, which have got us into the situation that we're in where all of our roads are in trouble because we've cut those things, and we need to look at that again. So I would definitely say the services, fire, police, and then look at cutting other things, and also, like Alan said, look at grants and other fundings. There's got to be an out-of-the-box way to do things, and I want to think outside the box. I am not the smartest person in the room, and I know that there are people smarter than me, and I want to listen to those ideas. Thank you.
Missy, let me interrupt really briefly and just encourage you all to focus outwards. I have a tendency to look at you because it's interesting what you're saying, but they want to hear from you.
Okay. So certainly we're obligated to take care of what we're statutorily required by the state, and public safety being one of those. There are ways we could mitigate some of those, so we could actually pass some of those things to county government, like we could create a county-wide fire district instead. While that's feasible, I don't think that's the best option for us. I do want to make a plug for folks that should you want to reduce property taxes, please understand that of the 8 mills that come to Lander, 3 of those fund our local fire department. So if you're cutting property taxes, you're cutting that fire response and public safety. So please vote wisely on that. One of the things I'm really proud of in my time in council under Mayor Richardson's leadership and continuing that is that we've worked really hard to have a strong financial position so that we are not as affected as other communities by the financial ups and downs that we have from so many of our funding sources being somewhat capricious. And I think that's a really important thing to continue so that we don't have to impact the services that we provide to you.
Michelle, if you'd like to start us off with this next question. Please describe your familiarity with how the city receives revenue into the general fund, and are there any areas where you think general fund money should be reallocated?
I always think it's interesting how money that comes in is earmarked for things and then we can sneak it into other things or we can do it in other ways. I am new to all of this. I am on a steep learning curve right now, and I am learning as quickly as I can. So as far as exactly how things and the way that Ms. White knows them, I am not going to be the expert in the room. I want to be the expert in the room, and I will be eventually the expert in the room. But right now I have a very large learning curve to know exactly where general fund money comes from. I'm learning from constituents how the tax dollars are utilized and how our transportation funding is utilized and all of those things, and it's been an incredible learning curve for me. So to speak specifically to that in an educated way, I would definitely need to know more about it, and I understand that that will be the mayor's role and position, but at this time I would not give the best answer.
Missy, what does your experience tell you there?
So we have a few different funding pockets that come in generally to our budget. The general fund is largely through sales and use taxes. Property taxes are about 10% of our budget. A lot of what we use for our general funds, which is all of those statutory services, everything except sewer and water, and the airport is its own fund, all come from those kinds of things. A little bit of mineral royalties and so on. We do depend heavily on other funding sources like grants and loans to be able to do the projects that we're doing. Those are actually allocated for specific projects, and it would be an abdication of financial responsibility to turn them into something else. We cannot use funds that are dedicated through, for example, the Jefferson Street extension was a community block development grant that could only be used in low and moderate income for specific things like streets to get to public facilities like a park. We couldn't take that money and put it into any other street project. We have to follow those obligations stringently or we're in big trouble, and I'm not going there.
Alan?
As the mayor said, we get most ours from this severance taxes, from sales tax revenues. We have to utilize the grants that we get. We have a really good person in the city right now that's able to obtain large amounts of grants. The problem is with the parks, we've got a grant to buy the park or help fund for the park, but then you've got to look at the long-term maintenance of these projects that we have, and people aren't looking at that. Some of those monies could have been earmarked into our infrastructure, our streets again, our curbing, and it's not happening. We have to look at the long-term goals of each one of these funding projects that we do. The city is funded for the water and sewer through, again, our payments to the city for our water and sewer, but the main part of my goal is to resell Lander to the people that come in and visit with us, and we're not doing that. I think we need to move on.
Missy, could you start us off with this leadership question? As mayor, what practices, and for you it would be if there's anything to change, what practices would you use to maintain or improve transparency and accountability in city government?
I'm really proud of what we've done, and I know that that's a big buzzword right now. We continue to stream our council meetings. They're posted the next day. We've changed our software so that you can use the agenda to go straight to that part of the meeting agenda, so you don't have to try to wade through all of it. We are incredibly responsive to public records requests. We get them frequently. One recently ended up in a stack of 3¼ inches of paperwork for that. We do our darndest to provide information as quickly as possible. We have tons of information on our website. We will continue to do that. Our audits back to 2014 are there. Our budgets and our budget workbooks are there. Our agenda packets are made available for every council meeting. We answer the phones. We welcome folks in. We encourage people to ask questions. We enjoy interacting with you and do our darndest to provide as much information to you in as timely a manner as we possibly can. I'll also note that because of our efforts, we won an award, the Benjamin Franklin Award for Transparency, earlier this spring, and I'm really proud of what we're done. We are more transparent than we have ever been.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you. So one of the things that I hear in the community, I spend the majority of my time as a business owner in front of the business and talking to the people in the business. And one of the things that they're most frustrated about is the fact that COVID is over and we have the inability to walk into our city hall and chat with people. And I know that the employees have some safety concerns, and as the mayor, I will address those concerns with them specifically. I want our employees in any situation to feel safe, but we also are a public building and we are there for the people. And they also need to be open Monday through Friday. That is a big thing for me. To have transparency also means that you have access, and access right now is difficult. I am not hard to find. You can know where I work, and you'll also have scheduled time for me at the city hall to be more transparent. So I'd like to see some open of the city hall and some just the ability to access me or the mayor in a little bit easier sense.
Again, I agree with Michelle over the fact that we need more transparency. With the council meetings I've been attending recently, I hear a couple of council people saying, I didn't know about that. And why is that? It's because there's no transparency. There's no talking back and forth. The department head meetings that we hold once a week, or used to hold once a week, I don't know how many times they hold them now, you have a couple council people at there. You don't have them all. That's because the other council people are working. So at this point, we need to inform those people of what's going on. We need to be able to sit down with them and say, hey, listen, we had this meeting over here. We talked to here, about this stuff and fill them in on what's going on. It's really sad when you have council people going, I didn't know about that. And that's the thing. I've been able to talk to people and call up my councilman and say, hey, what's going on in my neighborhood? And they had no clue. I ended up having to call Lance, and Lance tells me one story. I get another story from somebody else. So I think that the city is going in all different directions. People aren't aware of what they're doing.
Keep the mic.
Yes, ma'am.
Under state and municipal law, the mayor has the power of appointment for the following positions: chief of police, city clerk, city treasurer, city attorney, municipal court judge, superintendent of public works, assistant mayor, city engineer, and fire chief. Of those positions, who would you reappoint or not?
I'm going to give that answer to the thing is when I get there, I want to evaluate everybody's position. I want to call the people in. I've heard a lot of things, discussions of people talking to me, and I want to be open with those people. I want to call them into my office. I want to sit down with them and say, hey, I have some questions for you. And if the questions aren't answered the way that I feel it needs to be answered, then yes, I will remove them, and I will put people in place that I feel that are capable of doing the job. At this point, I don't have enough information to tell you straight out that I'm going to replace the public works or the lawyer or the city attorney or the police chief, any of this. I don't have that information. I want to be able to sit down with these people and evaluate and go from there.
What a tough question. Thank you. So I think that my family and I purchased a grocery store in Powell, Wyoming not long ago. And we went into that with our servant leadership and our hearts for servant leadership. And we hired every single person that was in that grocery store at the time. And we didn't know if they wanted to work with us. So kind of taking that same philosophy, I don't know that they would want to work with me, so we'll have to have a conversation about it. I do think that the public has an opinion about that, and I will take my constituents' opinions into it. I do not have a hit list. I do not have a list of people coming down the pipe. I think that our city is functioning well. I think that since Monty and then Missy White there's been a lot of really good changes, and we have a lot of good changes to go forward. So I would like to sit down with those people and see if they even want to work with me, because I don't know that they do.
Great question. I'm glad it's asked. So I want to reiterate that the projects that folks here in the room care about are happening because of those amazing department heads that we've got. That deliberate planning started 8 years ago with strategic planning, residents letting council members know what their priorities are, and us relaying that to city staff and the department heads through that strategic process. Those folks hold the expertise on what to do, how to get money to do it, and although we wish we could move projects faster than the current pace, municipal government moves slowly. But we are moving probably as well, if not faster, than any other community our size in the nation. We've got incredibly talented people there, and to lose any single one of them would be absolutely devastating to the projects that you care about. So from my point of view, keeping those folks in place, keeping their knowledge in place, their expertise in place, their relationship with funding, with contractors, is how we continue to move forward. And I think that's incredibly valuable for everyone here in the room and in Lander.
Okay, if the audience wants to go ahead and submit any questions they might have, some volunteers are coming around.
Okay, I'll hold the microphone.
And we might not get to all of them, but we'll try to get to as many as possible.
They're live.
Y'all are going to put us on the hot seat.
We're ready. Well, I'm not.
Well,
but
you'll
that's
get
okay.
theirs in a little bit because somebody has to paw through them. So for the moment, while they're working on that, Michelle, if you could answer this infrastructure question. Please describe your understanding of the water and sewer lines in Lander and how you would address them.
How would I address them? They're a mess. They have been kicked down the road for not just now, but for years and years. We grew very rapidly with the opening of U.S. Steel and the building that happened during that time, and the invention of the Orangeburg, which is the clay tiles that go from the main line to the houses that are collapsing. That's why when you drive down the street, you see all the little cutouts that go through the street. That's replacing that pipe. We have, and I believe Mayor White, did we put that on the city website recently, the color map that shows all of the age of our pipes and infrastructures from our water. I knew we did just get an amazing new tank, and we do have a great water department, but we have water leaking. We did do some camera stuff and some things to stop the water leaking that has done amazing things recently. Our city engineers and our city water department is doing a great job, but man, we have a lot of work ahead of us.
Alan, what do you think about that?
On the water and sewer, we are progressing pretty quick. We've lined a lot of the sewer lines in Lander. I know Lance is involved in getting that done. I agree that we have great water and sewer projects working. We have to replace some water lines. They're pretty old. They were put in back when my dad was mayor the first time. So we've got a lot of older pipes that need to be replaced. With that said, I think we just need to continue the move forward. There's different ways we can do that through replacing manhole covers, but every time you try to replace a manhole cover area, you end up breaking stuff, from what I understand. I know we just replaced a big chunk of sewer line there in the 100 block of South 9th Street. So I think we're doing a good job in the water and sewer area. It just has to be combined with the infrastructure for the roads.
Y'all know the phrase, whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting over. We live in a desert. We've been working really hard over the last several years to expand our water supply. We are working collaboratively with many other partners for expanding Worthen Reservoir, whether that's raising it, dredging it so we can store more water, et cetera. We've done test wells in the alluvial plain around the water treatment plant, so we have more water coming in. So in terms of supply, we're doing well. Don't worry about that. In terms of how we get it to you, yep, that is a problem. And if you take a look at that water map, you'll see that we've got miles and miles of water mains that are pre-1970. They need to be replaced. And you've also seen what it takes to replace them. If you've not seen any of the work on Lincoln Street, you'll see that. To replace all of our water mains, sewer, and the pavement curb and gutter is $400+ million for our 52 miles of streets. We take in 1.7 a year on our 1%. So this is why we got to focus on getting grants and other monies to do that and plan those projects appropriately so we hit the highest priority first, and we do that through studies to know what needs our attention the highest.
You can keep the mic. Oh. Let's touch on housing. How do you propose addressing Lander's high cost of housing and the housing shortage for renters and buyers? What specific policies or actions would you pursue?
I'm so glad you asked this because one of my core beliefs is that I want everyone who lives in Lander, does the work of Lander, to be able to live in Lander, including our friends and neighbors who are on limited income for that. And we are rapidly pricing folks out. So a couple of things more specifically. We already have a working group that's bankers, community members, state legislators, city officials to look at all the ways that we can impact housing positively. And we need that wide thing because no single segment will have the answer. We are incredibly fortunate that the legislature this year has dedicated a substantial amount of land for us to be developed for housing. We have the opportunity to do that really well. It is a little challenging because we don't have major developers here. You know, our developers build a house at a time, maybe two at a time. So not like the Front Range of Colorado, but we have the ability through a lot of creative ways, changes in our code, working with banks, potential housing trust to be able to make Lander affordable for all.
Michelle.
I at any one time have a unhoused employee, and that is hard. I work with them, and it is definitely one of the number one problems and crises in Lander. Specifically to deal with it, I would like to understand some things. So I've talked to some contractors, and most contractors will not work in Lander right now. We have a shortage of builders that will work in our town because of reasons that they would be happy to share with you if you would ever like to talk to them. So I would like to work with all of the boards, the housing board, the planning and zoning committee, and those kind of things to figure out why our contractors are refusing to work with the city and in town. That's a huge problem. And I think that we really do need to look at some rezoning, not the dramatic rezoning that was going on before, but some rezoning. And why places like the lot behind Mr. D's doesn't have housing on it, or the KOVE property doesn't have housing on it. Those are a lot of just the very small issues. It's a big problem, though. Thank you for asking the question.
I believe the first thing that needs to be done is sit down with the developers and have a really tough talk with them about why do you not want to work in Lander. And I've talked to a few of them. In fact, they've even called me up and ran me down. And a lot of it has to do with our zoning on what the city does, our fee structure, which is tough, and our, I guess you could say where we're going to put the building. I know they sold the lot at by KOVE back on North 10th Street, or it's in the process of being sold right now. We can try to leverage some more areas through the federal government for low-income housing projects. I would like to expand our footprint, i.e. take in some of the areas north of Lander as some of the areas ago. I know we have some infrastructure out there already that was planted out there a long time ago. But again, if you can't get the people to build, it's going to cost us. And the fees that we charge, it's always charged to the person that buys the house. It's not the developers, and that's what's driving this cost up. Plus, people moving in from out of state that can afford it, we can't here in Lander.
I'm going to have to cut you off, but keep the mic.
Okay.
Tribal relations, Alan. Does or should the mayor's office have a relationship with tribal leadership on the Wind River Indian Reservation? Why? And explain your understanding of the current relationship between the mayor's office and tribal leadership and how you would continue or improve upon this.
Yes, we should have a relationship with them. I mean, they're just 8 miles north of us is the reservation start line. And as a police officer, we had really good working relationships with them. And I think we should continue it. They come into Lander, they visit our stores, they go to our city parks, and I think we need to continue that. I mean, there's a lot of good information out there, good people out there, and I think the city should have it. As for the relationship with the city right now, I do not know what the relationship with City Hall is. I do know through the police department we always maintain a good working relationship with them, and the people out there are awesome people. I've lived out on the reservation with my mom for a while, and I got to meet a lot of them, and I'm good friends with them. And unfortunately, I can't say unfortunately, but I go to the casino and I sit next to them, and we have great conversations. I love it. I love their history out there, and I think that makes us stronger as a community to understand that these people are out there and we need to be part of it.
I'm not sure what the current city relationship is with the tribes, either tribe. But for me, I would love to have a liaison for myself to the tribes. They're our neighbors, they're our friends, they're my family, and I have a heart for them. I think that the mayor of Lander does not just represent the people of Lander. The mayor of Lander is influential in everything that happens in Fremont County. It's not just about us, it's about the whole. And the things that happen in Lander are happening on the reservation or are happening on the reservation or coming into town, and we need to have a good relationship. We need to continue to have a good relationship with our police officers, with the reservation police. Some crimes happen in Lander and they head out there. We need to be able to go and have those people prosecuted or whatever we've got going on. We need to have a good relationship. But I would love to have a liaison specifically for me in moving forward, to have a great relationship with those people, because it does affect all of us.
If you don't mind, I'd like to take your question a little bit further. I do believe it's important for all of us to work together, and certainly I think we are past the kind of territorialism of Lander versus Riverton versus reservation, et cetera. Thank goodness that's in the rearview mirror. And what's replaced it is all of our governments are trying to work together. So the group of mayors that represent the Fremont County Association of Governments, along with the county commissioner, we meet regularly. We have robust conversations. We share information. We help each other out with ideas, with problem solving. And part of that has been working to include the tribal governments in that process as well. They represent a huge part of our community, and it's important to include them in that process. But more importantly, it's not just about working with the tribes. I believe in that, and we need to do that. We do have different forms of government, but that doesn't mean we can't work together. I think we still need to work together because, again, a rising tide floats all ships, and Fremont County's got to work together for that. And we're seeing that not on the FCAG, but questions about how to provide ambulance service and so on. Those relationships are getting stronger every day.
If you could give the mic to Michelle. Based on our opening, this question goes to you first. Prior to this year, Fremont County School District Number 1 had the flexibility to provide the majority of funding needed for the Bruce Gressley Aquatic Center, Lander Pool, to operate. Due to legislation passed earlier this year, which places additional restrictions on what school districts can fund, they no longer have this budget flexibility. How do you propose addressing operation and funding of the Lander Pool, given the limitations of the school districts and city funds? And what can be done in the short and long term?
Boy, don't we wish we had a magic wand for that one. My grandfather was the originator of the pool, along with his father, Mr. McCombie's father. And the original intent was that 40% would be paid by the school district and 60% would be paid by the city. 100% of that would be paid by the city during the summer months, which is when we are teaching our kids to swim. We're allowing our elders to go and do exercise class, and that is so important. I don't have the answer. I don't know that Mayor White has the answer. I don't know that the county commissioners have the answer. We need to come together as a community and think outside the box, and we need to figure out how to do this. It is unfortunate that we are in this situation, that we now have no budget, line item budget in the city for it, and now the people that we've turfed it to 10 years ago, or whenever it was turfed, now cannot pick up the slack for us anymore. I would like to see it be a 40-60 split where the city and the entities using it are sharing it, but the money is a hard thing to come by right now, so continuing to look at grants and things to fix it.
Why don't you give that to Alan?
Well, it's a tough question right now. I know they've been holding meetings with the state representatives right now on trying to fix the funding models. So maybe by the time January or February rolls around next year, when they have the meetings for the state, the funding models will be fixed. If not, I think the city should go ahead and start helping out, because we do not want to lose the pool. I think we need to assess and see who uses the pool at what times. The school for 50%, maybe us for 50%, it'd be hard to say, but we need to address that. If we need to do some long-term funding, I would be for putting forward a park district where we would have our own little area around Lander and everything that would be taxed through mills to help fund the school projects. I'd also like to say, along the lines of swimming pools, I'd like to see Lander have a summer pool again. When I was growing up here as a kid, man, I spent my whole life up there, it seemed like. And I think we have the opportunity of doing it if we use our money right wisely.
So I want to go back up a little bit, because I know this is a point of concern for folks about why did the city step away. I went through and looked at the MOUs, and around 2006, the language was very explicit that should the city overestimate its revenue, it had the permission to step away from funding the pool. And that was signed every year, agreed upon by the school district, et cetera. Unfortunately, costs escalated well beyond what the city at that time was paying annually, which was about $67,000, partly from the rec board, partly from general taxpayer funding for that. The current shortage is somewhere between $375,000 and over $400,000 a year. That's a huge hit. So what does that look like? What are the steps we can take? One is, I want to reiterate, I've been in many, many, many conversations with school administration to address this and brainstorm about it. The city is working on a recreational study that will include how can we best optimize and fund the pool. And the city is absolutely willing to step in, because we have a little greater latitude in funding to be able to have a capital improvement projects on behalf of the pool. And those are just a few of the things that we can do to work together. The biggest one is the Lander community rises. And this is an important one, and I have every faith that the community will step up and pitch in to make this pool work, and even more importantly, the replacement pool that's going to have to happen in the future.
Okay, here's another softball question. You could do this one, Missy. What is your plan for the City of Lander's role in supporting essential services if the proposed 3.25% sales tax fails?
Not a softball question at all. It's a tough one. So one thing, I've been involved in the commercial air service starting back, 11 years, 12 years ago now, because its role was so devastating in its poor service to the community. Businesses were leaving. We need those businesses to stay here to help drive our economy. It was impacting quality of life. Families were missing weddings, missing getting back to work, kids getting stranded at the airport. So I believe that's one of the things. It does bring in money. It does increase our economic development. The initial information is out from the state about the economic development study. Tourism spending alone, visitor spending, $8.7 million annually. Total economic impact is over $30 million annually. So we don't want to cut our nose off to spite our face. We need that to help fund these other services like the ambulance, like ground transportation for WRTA and senior centers to be able to get people to school, get people to work, get people to hospitals. But again, that's going to be a community-wide decision. No single entity is going to be able to carry that water.
Michelle?
Sorry. I think that there is a creative solution to all of this. I am anticipating this not passing, just as from the people I'm talking to. And that is just because it's lumped together. I think there's some confusion about that. I think that we are so close. Missy and her committees have done such an amazing job on air transportation. I've flown out of Riverton 4 times so far since the last month and a half. And those flights are full. I would hope that the committee could add one more flight, and then maybe they could be self-sustaining. And I love that. I do think that our ambulance will still exist. If it doesn't, it may look different. I have worked in a volunteer professional system through the Red Lodge Fire Department, and we can look at doing something like that. There are outside-the-box conversations to have amazing ambulance service in Fremont County. I think that WRTA and ground transportation is needed. I have 3 employees riding the bus to work right now. So there are outside-the-box conversations, and we're going to continue to have them because I don't know that this mill is going to pass, sadly.
Working as a police officer for a long time, Lander used to have, or I should say Fremont County, a volunteer EMT system. The county picked up the cost for the ambulances and everything, and then we had volunteers that got paid a certain small amount of money. That kind of went away when we prioritized and became a private service. I would have to ask, I agree with the people I'm talking to, I don't think the 3/4 cent sales tax is going to pass. And it's kind of sad because it does sustain our airports, which the city gives money to. And the WRTA is necessary when you talk to people that utilize it, getting to college, getting to work, coming from Riverton to Lander. There's a lot of different things. So the city's going to have to step up if this doesn't pass and help the county fund the ambulance. We need an ambulance, period. I mean, when you need it, unfortunately. And I think there's ways we can do it. I agree we need to think outside the box. Maybe discussion of a district at one time was kicked around, so maybe we might want to look at that again.
Okay, keep the mic. Changing gears. As mayor, what strategies will you employ to decrease the damage being caused by drugs and alcohol?
Enforcement. I'm very proactive. When I was a police officer, I was very proactive. I went out and hunted the bad guys. We don't have that going on that I see right now. We did a lot of traffic stops. One of my shifts when I was patrol sergeant, we arrested more people than anybody else in the other shifts, and it's because we were proactive. We made sure we went out. I led by example. We were involved, and that's what we have to do. We need to talk to the community because they're our eyes. Every citizen in Lander is our eyes, and we need to let them, hey, no, you see something, call us up. Let us come talk to those people or investigate it. But they also need to understand sometimes, especially when it comes to drugs, it takes a while for us to work on getting things done. We need to be a little bit more proactive with our drinking here in Lander. We've done really good with a lot of grants we got from the state of Wyoming through the DY programs, which I ran. And I think my time's up, so I'll be quiet and pass it on.
I'm assuming it's coming here. Sure. So I just spent a whole bunch of time working with the city and the city council on the Title II, which is our new title on how we are progressing forward with our alcohol sales licenses. And man, what an amazing process that was. And I think we need to continue that as a city. We made a title that makes things stronger, and it makes businesses more accountable, and it helps businesses with things like tips. Our police department now has tips training. We have done a lot of amazing things. But one of the things I want to work on is we need stronger prosecution for the crimes that are committed. Right now, we are not seeing that. We are seeing slaps on the hands. We're seeing fines being deferred for drinking and driving and drug possession and things like that. I want to work with our city judge and our county prosecutor and increase that, not that punishment is a replacement for treatment, but encouraging our communities to, again, if you see something, say something, but also having some action behind our words.
One of the things that changed my world about how I see Lander, starting when I got on council, was I learned a lot more about what was happening behind the scenes, both the good, the bad, and the ugly. And boy, that knowledge of that really increased when I stepped into the mayor role. I now have so much more familiarity with what our police department is doing. And trust me, they are out there busting folks left and right for that. As long as there's humans, there's going to be bad activity. And we've got a very active police department who are actively pursuing anyone who's dealing drugs in Lander, and we're trying to strengthen that. Coming up shortly, we just got permission to have a partnership with DCI, Department of Criminal Investigations, which it adds even more effort for us. We'll be able to have one of our officers be placed with them to specifically be looking at exactly this topic. Again, I'll note what our officers, we now have 3 officers that are trained in TIPS training and alcohol server training. The changes we made in Title II at a nice level of increased risk management and accountability for license holders. And you know, one of the challenges is, well, certainly alcohol is a legal substance. Folks are allowed to enjoy it responsibly, but we have to make sure we have ways to intervene when folks aren't managing that privilege responsibly. I think we've got good steps taken already. I appreciate what the DUI task force is doing. They are out on a regular basis and helping remind folks of the importance. With that knowledge, there was not a single DUI, even though the task force was out during Brewfest, because folks got the word. We're going to enjoy, but be responsible. We need more of that.
Can you give the mic to Michelle? Lander has over 224 nonprofits. How do you feel about levying assessments against the property on nonprofits for their share of infrastructure use and maintenance and repairs?
Ooh, I thought it was 205. It's 224.
Well, this was an audience question, so
okay.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's over 200. And I think that each one needs to be looked at individually. I think Tara Berg, as our county assessor, has done a good job of looking at some of the things that are happening, say with the Catholic College, going into every business, into every building in the Catholic College, and then assessing them some property taxes when their buildings are not being used for chapels. That's a big concern for us. I think that, again, it needs to, if it's the spay and neuter clinic and they're doing something really amazing, they should be, and they don't have a brick and mortar building, why would they need to be taxes? If it's moving forward with somebody, you know, that's just a small nonprofit, but if it's a large nonprofit like Knowles, maybe we need to reevaluate the situation, because they do have a large brick and mortar presence in town. I'm not the, here, and my time's up. Yay.
Why don't you give it to Missy?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm not sure all of those are active, but I get the point, and I know the big ones are the concerns about the property tax that Knowles and the Catholic College, some folks believe, should be paying. So that's not actually the city's responsibility. Who pays property tax and how that's allocated happens at the state level. Our assessor, Tara Berg, is only tasked with enforcing what the state legislator does. She doesn't get to make decisions about that. She certainly has conversations with state legislatures and helps inform them of what could be policy changes, but that happens up at the state level for that. So in terms of property tax, great question. And I know one of those questions is, should they have to pay property tax on any of the portions of their facilities that are actually used as for-profit businesses? So the issue room at Knowles, cafe, et cetera. But also keep in mind that what those folks bring is outside dollars into Lander. Every payday is a primary dollar event. Those are the things that drive our economy. Their staff turn around and spend every year millions of dollars into the Lander community. They bring young people to town who end up staying and becoming part of our workforce and start jobs. So there's more than just a single point about property tax or not and the benefit of the nonprofits here in town.
she stole my thunder. That's exactly the thing. Is the city has nothing to do with the property tax valuations. It's the county and the state and how they level it. And I also agree the fact that they bring a lot of people here in Lander. I've talked to families from the Catholic College that have come here, loved Lander, and moved here, and that adds value to our town. With the people coming to Lander, the students, they all bring money. You see them walking around. They go into different places. They spend their money, so that also helps Lander in the long run. So I'm up in the air. I've heard a lot of people talk about the Knolls and everything else, but I think Knolls brings a ton of money, and you see the students come in during the summer months, and they spend a lot of time here. I mean, they go out in the field and they come back, but they're also buying stuff during that time, and they're talking about how nice Lander looks, and they sell Lander for other people to come here. So I agree 100% with not looking at them. Let the state and the county handle the tax burden.
Why don't you keep the mic? There's so many more questions we could ask, but we have a whole nother forum after this. So why don't we do, closing statements, and we'll give you each a minute, and we'll start with Alan and go down the row.
For me, the reason I'm running is because I saw a need. I see Lander. I want to sell Lander. As a police officer, I used to go up to City Park, hand out pamphlets for Sings Canyon, for stuff to do, the Sacagawea tours, things like this. I like to sell Lander. I have kids here that I want them to stay here. I don't want them to move. I want them to stay here. So we have to work on affordable housing for everybody. I mean, the standard medium right now is $350,000 for a house. That's $70-some thousand you need as a person or a couple to be able to afford a house. And that's not including what your truck payments or car payments are, going to the grocery stores. So we as a city need to pretty much get out of the way of the businesses. Let free enterprise work for themselves, and stop taxing people and charging fees that I think are unreasonable. Let the people handle it.
I'd like to thank everyone for being here first. I threw my hat in because of the frustration of the people. I talk to people all day, and they are frustrated. They're frustrated with the inability to know exactly what's going on in the city, and not that I'm going to be the perfect answer for that. And it's come so far from where it was, but people are frustrated. They're angry. They want change. They want someone that will listen to their stories. They want someone that will do something about their problems. I had a little lady the other day that said they raised my water bill, and I said by 7%, and they're going to raise it by another 7 or 9% next year. And she said, I'm going to have to choose between food and paying my water bill. And she had no idea that there was a program at the city that will help her. And I want to talk to those people and help those people. Basically, I want to help people. I am a people person, and I want to help people. And people in Lander are frustrated, so I'm throwing my hat in to do things differently, think outside the box, and work with the whole town. There's only 8,000 of us. We can do this. It can be amazing, even more than it already is.
Lander's making progress, and I'm really excited to continue this trend. We're tackling big projects, yes, including the streets, although I know not as fast as we want, as well as smaller ones that improve the lives for all residents. As a leader, it's critical to listen to those with more experience and to understand different points of view. This is how I make decisions for our beloved town. I will continue to act with principled leadership, offer effective solutions, build partnerships, and budget with fiscal prudence. As I campaign, I'm committed to listening to and communicating with you. Good government works to keep residents informed. You deserve to know the thought process of decisions that affect your city, your services, your tax dollars. I'm always happy to share my reasoning with you, as I did with why fireworks are permitted on the 4th. Take a listen on my Facebook page for that. Thank you to everyone who serves our community, attends meetings, asks questions, and stays involved. Local government is the heart of our lives and works best when residents participate. I'm proud to have served you honorably, diligently, and faithfully for the past 7.5 years, and hope you'll allow me to do 4 more years.
So we're going to take a 5-minute break to switch out seats and get the city council people in, but let's give them a big round of applause. to be read. We did that before.
Yeah, but we decided it had to be
And
public.
notes in the public space.
I think it's we decided that wasn't. You don't have that guy that said, oh, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
He said, N-O. Did I behave?
That's great. I was going to say one thing. When we do the audience questions,
Yeah.
we mention that these are audience questions so people know that they're helpful. Because like, they don't always, I don't know if people always know that you're reading an audience question when you bring them up.
That's fair. That's fair.
Some people might see it, some
Yeah.
people might not know.
That's a good idea. So here are the audience questions.
Yeah.
Maggie will do that.
Yeah.
Here are the audience questions. So this is the.
I have to look at the questions really quick.
These are our notes that we compiled so people can see what we're
I know. But oh my gosh. How whiny can you be? What did you say about him? Whoop. You wrote me a note. I didn't get it.
Welcome to everyone again. Thank you for being here. We want to just keep the night rolling, so we're going to start the City Council Forum now. Because this is a standalone video, I'm going to do my introduction again. Thank you for bearing with me, and I've shortened it a little bit. So I want to welcome the audience members who've just joined us to the Lander City Council Forum. I'm Michelle Scudero, the chair of the Fremont County League's Education and Outreach Committee. During the primary election season, we're pleased to host 11 forums in Lander, Riverton, and Shoshone. We're dedicating this season's work to Fremont League founder and Wyoming League president, Linda Barton, who left us too quickly this past spring. We're carrying on her work in our county and across Wyoming to promote our democracy and our election process. I want to take a moment to thank our partners who make these forums possible. County 10 for hosting the live video stream, WYO Today for printing and publishing our voter guide being mailed throughout the county. We would like to thank our county clerk, Julie Fries, and her staff for their exceptional work they do to run our elections and to register voters. Tonight's live stream will be available tomorrow on County 10's website, YouTube, Facebook, and the League's website, lwv10.org. We also thank Fremont County Public Library for hosting us and our volunteers, the timekeeper and moderator, who have contributed countless hours to make these forums a success. The League's mission is simple: to empower voters through education and encourage informed participation in our democracy. The League does not support or oppose political parties or candidates. Instead, the League provides unbiased voter information and creates opportunities like this forum tonight for voters to hear directly from candidates and make their own informed decisions. Please sign up for a listserv at the desk by the entrance door, and we thank these candidates for running for elected office. It's a commitment of time, energy, and emotional and mental strength, and we thank you. And now, please welcome our moderator, Maggie Miller, who will begin the City Council Forum.
Thank you, Michelle. To the newly arrived audience, I am Maggie Miller. I'm an attorney, guardian ad litem in Sublette County and Fremont County. I work on behalf of children. This forum tonight, there's 6 of 7 candidates from wards 1, 2, and 3. 2 from each group will advance to the general election. Mike Cusack, whom some of you know, the Wyoming Pathways guy, he could not be here due to a work commitment in Evanston. He sent his regrets. Because the League values an in-person forum, we have chosen not to offer candidates the opportunity to submit a statement for us to read or to live stream them into the forum. Here are the details for how this is going to work. It's like speed dating. You get 1 minute to answer all the questions, including the audience questions. You get 2 minutes for an opening statement, but again, only 1 minute for a closing statement. There's going to be about 10 questions. When you have 15 seconds remaining, Jackie, my lovely colleague, is going to hold up a yellow paddle. When time's up, it turns red, orange, and then I start interrupting you. We will alternate the responses, sprinkle them around, but it's not going to go just in order back and forth. There will be a section of audience questions. Audience members are encouraged to write down questions on index cards, and these are going to be collected after the 5th round of questions. Volunteers will read them through and then pick a handful of them, and then we'll do closing statements. I'm confident that you are going to agree or disagree with some of the stuff said. Please don't react. It'll just take up more time. We'll get to fewer questions. And if you could hold your applause to the end, that would be lovely. And finally, if you haven't already silenced your cell phone, please do so now. For opening statements, let's just start at this end with Sarah Schlosser for Ward 3. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Sarah Schlosser. I am a 4th-generation Landerite. My grandfather ran a business here for multiple years. Currently, I am running a mental health clinic in Lander. I have worked healthcare for 20-plus years, had the pleasure of working with Maggie. The majority of my time in healthcare has been in mental health, which leads back to our drinking and alcohol and drug issues that they were talking about with the mayors. I have served the youth in the county as a 4-H leader and on the 4-H council. I am currently running due to constituents reaching out to me. Started in March, my father went hospice, and I pulled away from it. And then the last day, people that we could register, people started calling and saying, please, 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 we know you're going through grieving right now, but will you consider? So I am running because I love Lander. I think Lander has a lot of potential. I've lived multiple places. I was a military wife. I've lived in big areas. I brought my children back here to raise them when I divorced. And I don't have any regrets about that. I did leave for 6 months. Well, I left to go to college in Casper and then left for 6 months to Florida, and that was like the biggest mistake of my life. And I returned quickly. So I hope to be able to serve my constituents and be available to hear them and to represent them to the best of my ability.
Hello, my name is Chad Cassidy. 2 minutes to tell you who I am. It's a bit challenging. I'll start by telling you I'm your neighbor. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a veteran. I've lived here for about 6 years. When I retired from the Marine Corps, I spent 2 decades in the Marine Corps living all over the world. It was a busy couple of decades. I joined the council about a little over a year ago because there was a need and I had spare capacity in my life, and I jumped in to help, and that's why I'm here again today. Professionally trained as a planner in the Marine Corps, educated in liberal arts in college and graduate school, and working on the council. What I try to do is to bring peace, to build high trust, and to dig into the details of the problems so that we can try to do our best to solve them on behalf of all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jesse Grovesinger. I was born and raised in Laramie, Wyoming. I fell in love with a woman from Lander, Wyoming. So women brought me here, and I've been falling in love with Lander ever since. It's been amazing. Initially, I started out in IT service in Laramie. I left for the Air Force for 2 years, served mainly in law enforcement. Came back, got a mechanical engineering degree, went and served with 2 startup companies doing scientific instruments and gun sights. Once COVID hit, that kind of got rid of those jobs for me, and I had to do a career change. That's where I got my footing in finance. I served at the University of Wyoming as a business manager, managing huge budgets and helping grants and state money being used correctly. A lot of experience in managing public funds, the safety of the tax dollars, and how that's done. With that, I now work for WRTA, which is a public entity. It is actually FCAG's, part of FCAG, so we are public servants. We service the public through public transit. We use tax dollars to leverage more tax dollars. So hopefully you guys learn more about me as I answer questions, and that's all I got to say about that.
All right, hi there. I am Jenny Young. I currently live in Lander, obviously. I live in Ward 1. I live over by the middle school if you're interested in where I live. I moved here in 2013, and before I moved here, I had never heard of Lander. And I am so grateful that I have the experience to live here and to raise my kids here. I would never go back and change a thing. One of the conversations that my husband and I had when we were talking about moving was if we didn't at least try, we would regret it. It would be one of those things in the back of our mind that we would never know what it would have been like had we tried. And I am so glad. I regret nothing moving here. It changed a lot for us. It was quite a culture shock, moving from a very densely populated area in northern Utah to Lander, which is been something that I have dealt with and I'm still dealing with. I'm not gonna lie, right? Like, we're ingrained a certain way, the way that we grow up, and we get used to certain things, and we move somewhere and we get to discover all the beauty and grandeur that is there and all the differences that are from where we came from to where we are now. And I love Lander. And I want to be able to be of service to Lander and to the people of Lander and to the people of Ward 1. I want to be able to be the person that you can count on to listen to you and to be your voice on City Council. I think that is the most important thing as a representative of the people, is to be someone who listens to and voices what the people want to have voiced. Thank you.
I'm going to try this mic. I know.
She's so fancy.
Crazy. Good evening. My name is Oakley Corsic Boycott, and I am running for Lander City Council for Ward 1. Thank you, first of all, to all of those who are choosing to participate in our democracy tonight and always, to the Lander Library, to the rest of the candidates for throwing their hat in the ring, and to the Fremont County League of Women Voters for hosting. I am not here as a politician. I'm here as a person who grew up on Washakie Street, where my handprints are still in the cement on the sidewalk. I attended Hudson Elementary, West Elementary, Starrett Junior High School, and was the last class to walk the hallways of Fremont County Vocational High School. And I can also eat an entire Judd's Grub Wimpy burger in under 10 minutes. I am not here to win your vote. I am here to work for it with you. I'm here to do what I can, with what I have, in the platform that I have, in the time that has been given to me. And to me, that means prioritizing community as action versus community as a performance. Currently, I work for Anamkara Caregiving, which is a local caregiving organization that I am honored to work for. It was a really hard day at work today because of a business model that prioritizes the quality of life for our elders and their caregivers, roles that none of us are escaping anytime soon. The Lander that I want to live in values the well-being of all of its citizens, doesn't forget its elders, builds a future for our children that we may never live to see, supports small businesses, has affordable housing for all, a thriving downtown, potable water, safe and drivable streets, while remaining the hometown that I remember, where good fences make good neighbors. And when my car breaks down, because it probably will, down heading out on North 2nd, I know that if George Case drives by, he's going to call Jenny Young, and together they're going to help me get home safely, because that is what Lander does. We help take care of each other, regardless of if it is a convenience or not. My decision to run for city council was motivated largely out of concern for the accelerated data center development across the state and country, and whether I am elected or not, I want to be a part of that conversation, that ensuring that data centers come nowhere near our community, and we are truly investing in a future beyond our lifetimes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm George Case, and Lander has always felt like home to me. It's where our business is that I currently run for my family, and I'm really deeply rooted in the community. I'm the president of Lander Rotary Club, and I'm a member of the Lander Ambassadors, and I can't really describe the great relationship I have with the chamber and other businesses here in town, and that's what landed me here. Just the relationship I have with the community and the knowledge that I've gathered just living here, running a business, and making sure that Lander is the best place ever to live. And I really do think it is. There's really not much holding us back. We have tons of potential here, and I think that we all know where Lander's going, what it can do best, and the government should never hold it back. There's a few challenges this year, but there always are going to be challenges. There's always going to be something new. You fix one problem, you find more. But I know we can do this, and there's always a great path. You just have to find it. It takes time and research to make the right decision, and I believe that the government should be spending money as if it's like their own, as the same way that the community would want their money spent. A government should run like a business, although it's quite different. The budget comes from different places. They do crazy things that the community doesn't even think of because they shouldn't have to. But I know that there's a simple way through, and we can find it no matter what. Thank you.
George, why don't you keep that mic?
Yes, ma'am.
I think you were a spy when they were writing the questions. We want to know what your vision is for Lander.
Okay. My vision is just for Lander to be a place that people can live, develop, chase their goals, and stay here. We have to have affordable housing and good infrastructure and everything like that. And I guess I am kind of repeating myself, but the government shouldn't hold you back. Your goals should be there for you to grab, not for someone else to be in the way of. And it's got to be a good place to raise a family and an easy place to run a business. That's what keeps a town together. That's the thrive, the beating heart of it, right?
Oakley?
My vision for Lander is a Lander that we all can be a part of, which, as I said in my opening statement, is an intergenerational community. Like, I've heard it said a lot that, you know, Lander is a retirement town. I think that that is in part true, but something that is so missing is reasons for our young people to stay. And so I'm really grateful to see some of my peers here, and I'm also really grateful to see everyone who is in the audience here tonight. And I think that it takes so much of that working together with respect intergenerationally to be in service of all. I would love to see more of that. And affordable housing being so much a prominent piece of that, that's an issue across the generations. I don't want to see our elders struggle, and I don't want to see our young people struggle in order to stay in the place and the homes that they love.
I was just getting ready to write some notes that was going to help me say this, so I guess I'm not going to have those. My vision for Lander is a place where my children can grow up and stay here and raise their own children here, and that cycle can continue. Right now, I do not foresee my children being able to stay here. I don't know what the future holds for them, and that future is coming up pretty quickly because they're only 14 and 16. And as a former teacher in the Lander schools, I know that that is a shared concern with parents and families throughout our community. We want our children, our grandchildren, to be able to live here and to live a thriving life, not just one that's surviving, but one where they are living the life that makes them happy.
My vision for Lander includes kind of what everyone's been saying, that affordable housing, through looking at our zoning, making sure to evaluate that, and like the mayors are saying, talk to the people who are building houses, see what blocks them from doing it. Also, opportunities for all ages, not just the younger generation or the middle generation, or everyone needs opportunity to stay where they're at. We also have the aging demographic of Wyoming as a whole that we need to consider too. That means fixed incomes. I understand that, so we can't really price people out, changing taxes and, oh, we need more revenue, let's burden the people that live here. So we have a great opportunity with our economic development tax that's being proposed to make sure that the things that are used not just by the people that live here, but by people that visit. And it looks like my time's up. So.
Thank you. My vision for Lander. I think it's in two parts. One, it's within the community, and then perhaps the second part's within governance. My vision with regards to governance is efficiency, effectiveness, good stewards of public funds, high trust, team-oriented, to be able to tackle problems. So within governance, it's working as a team to address the problems that we all face together. Within the larger community, I think we all probably align. I think everybody in the room probably aligns. Safety, predictability, being able to achieve your aims, your dreams, protecting your family, protecting your community, building close relationships with your neighbors, being able to rely on them. That's what I would think would be my vision for the broader community.
My vision is much of what everybody has said. I mean, I think we all want a community that's safe, that we know our neighbors, we can rely on our neighbors. I would love to have an environment that I grew up in when I was young here, where my parents were like, out until the street lights come on and you're home. And if you did something wrong, Joe down the street was calling your mom before you got home to tell your mom what you were doing. But I think we need the infrastructure, we need businesses downtown, we need those draws for tourism to come in. I mean, Sings Canyon's beautiful, but we need those draws that are gonna bring them back, and business is one of those. Safety, infrastructure to support the visitors is also important.
We're going to have a new question, but I have to confess that Alan Perry of Radio Shack phoned me to say that my child had struck a cat with her car. Everybody has eyes everywhere, so what you say is true. Let's jump to the middle and start with Jenny on this question. Sales and use tax are a major part of the operating budget for our communities. If those revenues underperform, what public services or priorities would you protect first, and what would be on the table for reduction?
This is a tough question because I don't want to see anything get cut, because that's people's jobs and that's livelihoods, and that hurts our town more than it helps our town. But I know that there is a reality in that we only have a certain amount of money and we have to allocate it and use it a certain way. We don't have endless buckets of money that we can just spend as we would love to spend, because if we did, then we would have a rec center, we would have so many things for all of our children to do, we would have a swimming pool that didn't have issues. But when it comes to what I would protect the essential services, the fire, all of the safety, and definitely one of the things I think is critical to protect is our ambulance service and access to healthcare, especially emergency healthcare. When we're talking about young children and older generations, it's necessary.
Jesse?
That's a tough one, because it's a heavy burden to consider cutting anything that we rely on as a community, as a town. But we're not alone. We are in Fremont County. We have the reservation above us. We have Riverton. So we have an amazing joint powers board called FCAG that I would hope to engage with to see what the other cities are doing about this, how it's impacting them, because when we work together, we benefit. If we ended up having to cut anything, it would be, I would prioritize not cutting police, fire, and health, because those are the most important. So then that leaves kind of our water and maybe projects. We might have to delay projects, such as streets and stuff. But obviously that's a big issue because it's an issue.
Oakley?
I would want first and foremost to protect essential services, police, fire, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I don't know how to answer that right now. And I wasn't really satisfied with the answers that were given in the mayoral forum either, because I don't think that, like, none of us want to have to cut any of this, and I don't know if in this present moment we have the solution to answer that right now. I mean, I think that, like, what Jesse said, projects would probably be up there, but also are really, really important. But I think it was Michelle Motherway who said in the last forum, you're looking at want versus need, and prioritizing the needs first.
Chad.
Okay, so very, very complex thing to cover in 60 seconds, but I'll do my best. So if you think about two lines, high taxes, high services, low taxes, low services, those are policy choices. If we want to have high taxes, we can afford high services. If you want to choose a route of low taxes, we are going to have low services. That's a truth. That's the truth, right? What you've described as austerity, and if we have to face austerity, a couple things that matter to me. Ruthlessly pursue efficiencies in everything that we do. I would debate very hard that we do not pass more debt onto further generations, to future generations. I think that's deeply unjust. So we need to carry the burden the best we can, and if we have lower tax receipts, as you described, then we need to deal with it in our timeline, in our life, and not pass it forward. So accept austerity, seek efficiencies, and then do our best to not pass it down the road.
George?
I don't think anyone up here would want to cut water or safety out of any budget. I think those are solid. Definitely keep them. If there's more efficient ways to do something, obvious choice. But the atrocious engineering fees and studies in the budget are, I mean, it's just like sickening to me, because not all the projects get done, and I understand they're in good faith, but the city is good at getting grants, and they require a match, which costs money. It's not like it's all free. So then they have to do the engineering anyway for projects that likely won't get done. I mean, a huge portion of them don't get done. So there's some fat to cut.
I, like the others, would hope that that would not happen. But if it would have to happen, I would say safety over fluff. In wants over needs. I mean, we teach our children that from a very young age. You may want the toy, but do you need the toy? And I would hope as a community that if those fluff items had to get taken away for some reason, that the community would step up and assist in those matters. If we had to have somebody go mow the grass at the park, I mean, it'd take 5 of us with lawnmowers. I mean, how many people have riding lawnmowers nowadays? I mean, we need to work together as a community to ensure that that doesn't happen, and if it does happen, that we survive through it as a community.
Why don't you keep the mic? 3/4% tax. Do you support the proposed 3/4% sales tax for EMS, air service, and public transportation. What accountability should be required from entities receiving those funds?
I feel that the three entities that are benefiting from the three-quarter tax should be more transparent where the money's going, should be operating as a business, even though it is. I mean, I get tired of hearing people say, oh, they're not making money, and yet we're subsidizing them. The air traffic out of Riverton is affected greatly by Denver, and none of us have control over that. I would like to see more flights coming in and out of Riverton, because I know somebody who's flown out lately and they've had to be bumped. I think ambulances are extremely important, having worked healthcare for years. That's my view on it.
Can you restate the question, please?
Do you support the proposed 0.75% sales tax for EMS, air service, and public transportation? And what about accountability?
Sure. So we've had some pretty vigorous debate in the council. It's all on record. There's no light between myself and FCAG and those who worked so diligently to kind of build this proposal on whether these should be solved. There's no light between us on that. I don't think that this is going to solve the problem. I think this is a Band-Aid on a very significant wound. Economic development is what's going to probably push our solutions further down the road than this. So I've been in debate. I've been against it in its current form. I've had some wonderful conversations with Sarah about it on a weekly basis, and I've tried to add value to their proposal, even though I'm against it. Doing my best to polish it up, recognizing that I don't fundamentally agree with it, because we might all live under it. So.
I have to walk a fine line because I work for WRTA, who doesn't necessarily, we're part of ground transportation, but we wouldn't be the sole benefiter of that. It would go to a government entity and then distributed to everyone who is providing ground transportation. The MOU states that the groups in charge of all those funds would have 100% agree on any changes. So that means it's really important for you to go out and vote for the people that have your values in mind, because if it does pass, they will ensure that it is kept safe. I am for it. I think it's really important, especially for the emergency services. County's in a tough spot. Providing service through a private entity makes it really hard to see where the money is being pushed to and used. There's currently a committee evaluating that, and you should get involved with that. That's run through FCAG, and you can look up the meeting times.
Yeah, so I support a tax that helps provide essential services to the Lander community. I strongly believe that access to public ground transportation and ambulance services are essential services. I also find value in making the local commercial air service reliable and available for locals to travel. As we've talked about, it's important for tourism, it's important for just locals who are living here and getting access to medical care and access to all kinds of things. It's incredibly important. So yeah, I support it. I'm in support of the tax. When it comes to accountability for those entities receiving the funds, what I would like to see is some budget transparency, which I'm sure has been part of the conversation, as well as evidence of where the money is going. So some sort of reporting of how the money is being spent. Where is every cent going? Because that is the people's money, and they deserve to know where it's going.
I am in support of the 3/4 cent sales tax. These are services that I don't think that we as a rural community can do without. This is also speaking as someone who is just barely above the poverty line, and I would prefer lower taxes just as much as anybody, but I also desperately need these services personally, as well as I know our community does. And I think that it's important to look at a matter of perspective, that just because you don't use them in this moment as whoever you are as an individual doesn't mean that these services, that you might not need them someday. And though I do agree that it is more of a Band-Aid on a larger problem, if you don't choose to go forward with it, and however you choose to vote, then those things will simply not exist. And that's an even bigger problem. I'm sorry I didn't answer about accountability. I ran out of time.
My answer is yes. Due to the lumping, we as voters are stuck voting yes or no to all three. 54% goes to ambulance services, and basically the way it's set up is there's a lack of budget or predicted, so it's going to fall short. And it scares me to death to know that there could be a problem with less services of EMS in Fremont County. So I've been on the other end of it waiting for an ambulance for a loved one that we didn't know was going to take 45 minutes. Thankfully, it worked out. But I couldn't see putting the public in that place if we had the choice. So that's essential. We probably need a better hospital district. Fremont County's huge. Du Bois is an hour away. There's a lot of challenges with EMS in Fremont County.
Okay, we'd like to collect audience questions if anybody has any. Okay, Chad, you referenced this topic in one of your answers, so we're going to make you go first on this one. What is economic development, and what role should the city play in local economic development?
In 1 minute?
Yep.
So
I told you, speed dating.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, yep. So we need to grow ourselves out of our problem. And growing this town, there's a lot of folks who don't want that. You know, it's a quaint town, it's a wonderful town. We move here for many reasons, and one of those reasons probably is not explosive growth. But if we want to afford the services that we would like to have, we need to grow, and that's going to cause some change and some challenges, right? Encouraging businesses, pursuing businesses, you know, making housing affordable the best that we can for those folks that are going to come and be employed here. You know, reaching out nationally if we can to get companies and small businesses to move here is probably one of my biggest focuses towards economic development.
What do you think about that, George?
An economy can either be going up or down. It's nearly impossible to stay stable. So we have to have economic development always on our mind, thinking of the future. What can we do next or better? And I think the city's role is even to go a step forward and educate the community on what we can do and prompt people to make good decisions for us for the future. The private sector does a lot of economic development. That's what I mean. And so the city shouldn't hold that back. They should know the direction the town needs to go and what it needs most.
Oakley?
I mean, I agree with George. It either goes up or it goes down. And I mean, I used to just groan and roll my eyes when someone would try to talk to me about economic development, because I would just get so tired of those conversations because it's exhausting, and it is so important. I think that the city's role in that is supporting small businesses, making a community that has that accessible for small business owners. I would love to see our downtown a little bit more thriving in that regard. That's a conversation I've been having a lot for all eternity, and especially so much recently, that we know that for the most part to not necessarily be true that we're a ghost town, but the feedback that I get a lot of the time is that when you come down Main Street, everything seems empty, even though I know that that is simply not true, but something has to happen in good relationship with, you know, our governance as well as our community to make that more budding and flourishing and accessible for small businesses to exist downtown.
Jenny?
It's all right. No worries. We got this. So growth is inevitable, hopefully. Maybe change is inevitable. Maybe growth is not, because I guess things shrink. As you said, it goes up or goes down. But change is inevitable. And hopefully we can change for the better and grow our town while still respecting the history of our town and still respecting the legacy of Lander. And the way that I see the role of the city doing that is by getting out of the way as much as possible for that economic development without sacrificing the values and safety of our community. And it's allowing for that growth to happen while still implementing something that I would like to see is like a historical kind of district. Like I would like to see more historical markers, more historical information around town to make it part of the tourism attraction.
Economic development grows and shrinks. You can have stagflation, but we're not really big enough to affect that. So in order to have economic change, whether it's up or down, you need cash velocity. So you get that through encouraging businesses to practice capitalism. So when I talk about opportunities, that's kind of what I'm talking about. We need to sometimes get out of the way of small businesses, get out of the way of some of the people that are trying to make opportunities for young people to come be plumbers, electricians, carpenters. Make sure that we're not, as a city, standing in the way. And if we are, get out of the way or maybe create opportunities through collaboration with our education systems around the county that we have. And there's a great opportunity through working with the people within our county that we can make this an amazing place to live.
I agree with everybody up here. I hate to say this, I'm old enough to remember when U.S. Steel pulled out and the uranium mine shut and what it did to Lander. We have to have a private business sector to keep the growth going, to fund the nonprofits that are here in the community, to keep people coming in. We have to look at ways to draw businesses in that are going to be respectful of our history and serve us in the way that we need to be served as Landerites, and not come in to change us into what they left or where they came from as a business owner.
Oakley, if you want to take us on this one. It involves ordinances. Are there any recent ordinances or council actions that you would have handled differently? Please explain your reasoning.
Recently? Well, actually, I was approached recently by Pushroot Brewing, Matt over at Pushroot Brewing, about conversations that he had had with Chad about sound ordinances. And so I reached out to Chad, and we ended up having a really fantastic, 2-hour meeting. It was wonderful, where we talked about implementing a sound ordinance, which, as far as I'm aware, as far as we are aware, does not exist. And I just thought that was such a fantastic conversation, and something that I would love to see happen, because without the structure of, let's just say, that specific ordinance, you have nothing to work within. Businesses, just people in general, don't have any rules to go by. So if that doesn't exist, you can't, call the police department and say if someone is, breaking this ordinance. Currently, there is nothing that exists. And anyway, thanks for having that conversation. That was great. Love to see more of that. Who's next?
We'll do Sarah, so she doesn't go last all the time. Sure. Any recent ordinances or council actions that you would have handled differently?
Honestly, about 2 years ago, I pulled away from a lot of what was going on in the city as far as ordinances and stuff go, due to issues with the police department and with getting return calls from City Hall. When I would call down and leave a message, I would never get an answer back. So currently, I would say, I mean, there's a noise order. The noise is a big one. I mean, the other night, I was woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning by a car speeding down Cliff Street at 2:30 in the morning, squealing tires, slamming on brakes, squealing tires. I think we need to look at those kind of options as to the noise ordinance. I mean, I have a friend who lives out east. They had to sell their house because they lived behind a bar, and the noise was unreal.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Short answer, no, and I'll tell you why. So Michelle's in the back there. For 9 months, we worked on Title II. We all are flawed. Everybody on the council, me, everybody that's involved in the staff, we're all flawed in our own ways. And we stepped out the gate doing Title II perhaps in the wrong way. But what did we gain from doing that over that 9 months? We strangers became friends. We debated. We learned each other. We disagreed respectfully, and we came to the best outcome that we could for everybody involved. So short answer is no. There's nothing that we've done recently that I would look back on and change. Through that struggle for 9 months, I think we all grew through that, and we'll probably do better next time because of it.
Through attendance to the city council, I've witnessed great discussion, civil discussion. I think there's opportunity to grow in ensuring that every voice is heard thoroughly. We already have procedures in place, parliamentarian procedures exist. I had a fun time learning that in my time at the University of Wyoming, serving on staff senate as their president. It's a great way to run meetings. It's how our government's kind of built. So I would hope to encourage people that feel silenced that I certainly won't let that happen, but we have an amazing council right now that discuss thoroughly, even afterwards. And I really appreciate that, and I kind of have to say that I haven't seen anything that I don't think should be changed back, but it was always good discussion.
Yeah, Jenny.
I would have to say that there has not been anything that is that glaringly stands out that I disagree with, that I'm like, yes, that's the thing that I could say that I would do 100% different. I think the council does a really good job of discussing and listening to various sides of whatever topic it is that they're discussing. One of the things that I know has come up as a concern with some constituents is the public comment. And one of the things that I think is interesting is if you go to the school board, like they kind of change their public comment to some extent, the way that they do it. Like they don't just have it at the beginning of the meeting. They allow for public comment after they've discussed a topic, so that you can then voice your opinion and concerns about what they discussed. And I think that would be a great thing for the city to implement.
George, I think you're the last one on this.
I wouldn't have approved the budget, though I wasn't there for every other meeting where that budget was developed and discussed. There was just too much frugal spending of taxpayer money, and I know the city is pretty transparent, but people don't really go to the council meetings and nobody logs into Zoom to watch them. So if the taxpayers in this town really knew what was going on, I think they'd jump out of their clothes, really. So all the other ordinances that I can think of, nothing really jumped out at me as being a problem.
Okay, last of the league's questions before we move to audience questions. And Jesse, you can start us off with this. It's a little long. The 2025 City of Lander Master Plan provides a long-term vision for the community and helps guide decisions on growth, infrastructure, housing, transportation, parks, and other priorities. What is one topic in the master plan that you would prioritize during your first year of office, and why? Is there anything in the plan you would assign a lower priority to?
I would prioritize.
And do you want me to read that whole thing one more time?
Maybe if I get lost in my rambling. I think I'd prioritize the streets because that seems to be the constituents' concerns. I would rely on transparency through communication with constituents, utilize my background in IT to ensure that I give every opportunity to constituents to communicate their issues to me, and make sure that if there is anything that would need to lower in priority, I communicate that the reasoning and the logic behind that decision. I do pride myself on figuring out systems thoroughly so that I can explain it to people, because I have to do that a lot as a business manager now and in the past. A lot of the times, taxpayer dollars are protected by law, so you have to explain how we actually can spend money, and sometimes, it sits in a bank account forever because you can't spend it on certain things.
So I'm not going to lie to you, folks. I am not that familiar with the master plan. I have looked at it multiple times. I've gone to the open houses that the city has had, but right now I couldn't tell you what the priorities are. And I feel kind of ashamed about that. So I apologize for that lack of knowledge on my part. But I would agree that I think the roads and infrastructure are a priority, and making sure that they are getting the attention that they need. I also think that housing is a priority, and having that, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like that gradual transitioning of housing. Because right now, that's not really possible. Like, you can't have your first home and then your family home and then your empty nester home. Like, you can't transition homes the way that you can in other communities.
Oakley?
Infrastructure. Thank God we all love infrastructure. And the roads, first and foremost. I think that also, at least in the projects that have currently been taking place in relationship to the roads, like, what is the quote that Lance always uses that's like, I have it written down, which I was trying to find, that he always says, like, oh, if you think our streets are bad, think about what's underneath. It's so much worse. So I think that, like, looking at that and, like, creative problem solving in addressing the streets issue, you end up, like, it costs so much money. I forget, like, I think these are old numbers, so it's like so much more that Mayor White often refers to when she was at least representing Ward 2, that 13 homes on her block pay the city annually via property taxes like $1,747.30, and at the 2021 tax rate in 60 years, that would be $104,838. And so, like, that is so wicked expensive. It's only gotten worse, but at least if you're addressing it now, that's like an incredible investment into the future. So that priority, and my time is up, and I'm sorry I talk so much.
George.
I don't know the complete plan, but infrastructure's high. Let's get that figured out and get a plan so we don't have to think about that anymore. Like Oakley's saying, the smooth asphalt is just the icing on top. Everything underneath is super expensive. So not all 52 miles of streets need new plumbing underneath, but a lot of them do. And I think that's where grant money needs to come back or come in more. I think I'd prioritize parks the lowest. I think we can maintain what we have right now. We have the best park there ever could be. Expanding more and spending more, that could be a stretch.
Sarah.
I, like Jenny, am ashamed to say I'm not overly familiar with this master plan. But I would have to say that infrastructure is so important. Unfortunately, our sewer and water lines are much like building a house, and your electrical and water lines that you run through your house, you don't see them, but boy, you want them. And the asphalt is kind of the lipstick on the pig, so to speak. And just fixing the streets, I mean, you're going to have to tear up the street to fix the infrastructure. And I think we have to focus on that as a priority, and then housing, because you can't build new housing if your infrastructure cannot support it.
Can you say again the question, please? There was something that I caught in there.
The master plan provides a long-term vision for the community and helps guide decisions on growth, infrastructure, housing, transportation, parks, and other priorities. What is one topic that you would prioritize and why?
Okay, so we recommend priorities. We don't assign priorities, I don't believe, with the relationship we have with the mayor. We can work very closely on aligning those priorities. But for me, it's brilliance in the basics. You know, there's core services that we're required to do, which were discussed almost an hour ago. You know, safety, security for our community, and then infrastructure as well. Understand that's probably our biggest looming challenge that we have, and it's exceptionally expensive. It's more than we can bear. The load carrying capacity of our community cannot support the infrastructure repair that's required to be done. Right, so that's something that's going to have to be spread over a long period of time, and we'll, as it was brought up about grants, we'll have to be probably reached out to federal money.
Okay, I've got 3 audience questions. I don't really know who to direct these to. Let's torture Oakley.
Great.
How do you propose addressing the high cost of housing in Lander? Examples: allow mother-in-law suites in all districts, restrict short-term rentals, modify zoning code to allow for increased density, annex more land.
Great question. I think the answer that I'm going to give is not the solution, but I think it needs to be a part of a larger community conversation. And I'm going to say 2 things on that, which I know are going to frustrate a lot of people. I think that there needs to be conversation around capping short-term rentals. I'm not saying that's the solution, but it needs to be a part of the conversation. Also, zoning needs to be a part of that conversation as well. And this is not a city council thing, but I'm really hoping that we as a community can have better conversation with each other, and like take action within the community. Like, don't frickin' charge so much for rent, my God. And I understand that that is like a lot of people's livelihoods, and it is, more often than not, I'm disgusted by it and horrified by it. And I'm grateful to be in the home that I am now, because otherwise I could not afford to live here.
George?
I don't think that the answer to affordable housing is new construction, just because of the cost of materials and labors. A contractor can tell you basically, if they're the general contractor, what they can put up a house for, and the number, to me, it doesn't really seem affordable. So I don't know what that number is that we throw around affordability, but I think the city should do everything in its power to change ordinances and zoning to help the community have more places to live and find a place to live, basically.
Jenny?
So housing is incredibly complicated. I did get the benefit to serve on one of those, they were called something, one of those group thinks that where the legislators were present, and I got to talk to Lloyd Larson about some housing issues from like the state perspective, and then there was someone who is in their like early 20s who is dealing with housing in a much different way than I personally am dealing with housing, so I got to hear her perspective, and it is so incredibly complicated. The cost of building materials is huge, so building new homes is not necessarily the best way to go. The wages of workers don't keep up with the cost of living, so people can't afford what can be built. But what I think is important is that there needs to be homes for people to buy, to live in, not just rentals. And I do think that short-term rentals are a problem.
Jesse?
I think in the question there's some good solutions stated. You know, look to expand, because like Chad said previously, if you want to have services, you got to expand so that you can levy more taxes, so that you can afford your more expensive services, which then in turns it builds the garden where people want to build their houses and their homes. We have to consider the sustainability of what we do in building that infrastructure. Because if the city ends up building a bunch of affordable housing, how are we going to fund the people to keep it up and running? What happens when we end up with, you know, unoccupied housing, and now we're stuck paying the bill for a house that the city owns? Can't do that. So we need to make sure that whatever we consider doing, it is complicated, but it needs to be measured, sustainable, and long-lasting.
Okay, so firstly, I'd like to say that we have some all-stars on staff that know this very, very well, and one of them's in the room here. So if you want the answer all the way to the bottom, there's somebody that we can talk to about it. But very broadly speaking, you know, increased supply in line with the character of the community, right? There's no tension really about infrastructure. There's no challenges and disagreement about infrastructure, but we will all subjectively disagree about the character of our neighborhoods, you know, and increasing that supply will come in conflict with our subjective feelings about our community or our neighborhood or our street, and that's where the tension comes from. Sitting in the council last year, there's a lot of fatigue over this. There's a lot of fatigue over rezoning, and it's something that we need to debate, we need to discuss, and there is a path forward. We just need to work really hard to find it. So,
I feel that we need, like Chad said, to work together as a community to look at how we rezone in a manner that allows Lander to have that affordable housing. We should have those starter homes, and as you grow. Right now, it seems, I mean, honestly, if I moved back to Lander today, I could not afford to live here. Fortunately, I bought at a time where it was a little bit lower, and I bought privately instead of through a real estate agent. I think we need to look at what options can we have, the mother-in-law suites, the housing, the tiny home communities. I think we need to brainstorm as a community for this issue. I don't think there's an easy answer to it, but we have to solve it as a community.
Okay, this next question, we're just going to go down the row. You're starting, Sarah. It's a simple yes, no. You only get to say one word. Would you support open containers on July 4th?
Yes.
no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
George, keep that mic, because I have no rationale for the order now. What will you do to combat division and remind Lander that we are all Lander?
I would invite people just to get involved in their community, just be part of groups, go out, find out what's going on, ask questions. I've had the same conversation with like business owners and people who didn't think they fit in here or couldn't find friends, but there are super brilliant, amazing, and very kind people all around. They're not hard to find, so you just got to get yourself out there, and please do.
Talk to people that you know that you disagree with. I also will say a really wonderful opportunity to maybe not talk to people you disagree with, but maybe is that myself and Jenny and George have coordinated as individual candidates, but together, a meet and greet for all of the Ward 1 candidates. That it's going to be on July 24th at Push Root Brewery from 6 to 8 p.m. So we wanted to do this as an opportunity for the community to come and talk to us, have neighbor-to-neighbor conversations, come and ask us the very hard questions. Think about what you learned tonight. Tell people that you know who might disagree with us or any one of us to come and have those conversations. There's an opportunity first and foremost, and actually learn about your candidate instead of just making it a popularity contest. So that's one thing I would say. And then this is something I've been encouraging. You probably, if you listen to me talk long enough, you'll hear me say this. Bring a friend or an enemy to the polls to vote with you, which I think has served me well. So bring someone you don't like to the polls. Get someone you don't like to register to vote and see where that leads you.
Living life on the edge.
Oh, yeah, all for the plot.
So combating division is something that I have dealt with in my own personal life. I'm sure we all have, right? We have people that we disagree with, but that we have to interact with somehow. We have to be grown-ups and adults and find that way to be respectful to each other, regardless of what the other believes. And I think the easiest way to do that is to find common ground with each other. And one of the things that I think Lander is really good at finding common ground on is being of service. Lander is such a service-minded community, and that is something that I think all of us can get on board with and agree that we're all here to help and to serve each other. And that is a foundational way to build a divide. And also just remembering the humanity of each other.
They're taking all the good answers. I would definitely encourage what Oakley said. Go talk to somebody you disagree with. It's surprisingly easy to start the conversation, and then you quickly find out that they're humans and they have a story. They have family and lives to live in Lander. And then quickly you find out that, oh, we are one. We are already working together for a common goal of making Lander an amazing place to live. And man, it's easy to get out into Lander. There's so much stuff going on. There's always something going on. You can always go out. If you don't have enemies, go make some.
So apologies, some Marine Corps kind of experiences are going to come out here, but assume good intent in each other. I guess assume good intent in everybody that you interact with. Model mental flexibility for others so that they give that back to you in return. Extend grace to folks, even if they don't do that for you occasionally. And then just work diligently to bridge any gaps that you have with other folks. I think those are some pretty good guiding principles. There are no enemies in this room. There are no enemies in this community. We can disagree about all kinds of stuff, but they're not big things. So.
I believe wholeheartedly that getting out and introducing yourself to your neighbors as they move in, checking in on your neighbors when you don't see them for a day or two, or their car hasn't moved for a week, knocking on that door to make sure they're okay, doing the volunteer work, kind of like what he said. I used to tell my children, I love you, but maybe I don't like you today. We all are humans. We all have to love each other and support each other. I mean, if we can't do it as a collective, it's hard to do it as an individual in life.
So you each have the opportunity to take a minute. I know, a lot of time. You can make a closing statement. You can touch on something that wasn't covered that interests you and you find important. And let's just go down the row again, starting in reverse from the outset, and start with George.
So far, candidacy has been a really humbling experience for me. I've learned a lot about what people think and the direction they think the city should go. I've had an outpouring of gratitude just for stepping up and running, so no matter whatever the city's next move is, whatever the future beholds, it's been a great experience, and it's just reminded me how great of a place Lander is.
I just want to say thank you again to everyone for being here tonight, and for the League of Women Voters for hosting, as well as George and Jenny, who have made this experience of running actually really enjoyable and pleasurable. And I've loved learning from you both. And although we all have very different ways of engaging with leadership, I think that Ward 1, regardless of the outcome, will be in very good hands. I think I'll read a little bit of what I had written, that I know that leaders will come and go, and though I do grieve every day for the Lander of my childhood, I know that it is all of our responsibility as citizens to make sure that what we love about our town is preserved and cared for, which is including each other. And as change does happen, it makes sure that we don't leave each other behind. With great amenities comes huge responsibilities and even larger consequences. So I believe in people over politics always, and I will work to hold myself accountable to that through November and beyond, because it's about the body of work that we as a community are working to create together. Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for being here today and showing your dedication to Lander. And thank you to the League of Women Voters and for everybody for putting your name in your hat in the ring, your name in the hat. I'm running for Lander City Council because I believe in the power of our community and the promise that we can achieve together. We can continue to build a city that reflects our shared values and aspirations, a city where integrity, honesty, and compassion guide us in all that we do. I would greatly appreciate your vote during the primary election to help me advance to the general election in November, because only 2 of us can go and there's 3 of us. I look forward to discussing your concerns and making my case to you to earn your vote in person. If that is something that you would like to do, I would love to do that. I love those in-person conversations. And thank you for considering me as your voice on the Lander City Council.
Thank you. I live by the Air Force values: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. I also brought some postcards, so afterwards, please come get one if you want it. It has my email on it. I'm introverted, so emails work really good. But if you really do want to have an in-person conversation, I'm more than willing. I think that Ward 2 is in a really safe spot. Julia is amazing. I've had a great chance to have conversations with Chad. I'm running because I want to help. Another reason Lander is just in my heart is because, service-oriented. And that's where I'm at, and I want to help. Whether I'm on the council or not, I'm going to still be engaged civically. So I encourage you to do the same.
Okay, so you have no bad choices, I think. You've got some really great, wonderful opportunities here with all of us, I think. I don't see any dogmatic folks with really dogmatic opinions. I think everybody's quite flexible, and I'm very pleased to sit up here with all of you. 2 decades in the Marine Corps conditioned me to service. That's probably how I'll be until the last day. And for this time in my life, I have spare capacity. And I want to share that. I want to give that. And I've been conditioned to drop tools, close up my shop as a small business owner, and go wherever the problem is. And I will do that until you ask me not to. So thank you.
I would like to thank all those who encouraged me to come out and run for office. I'm a firm believer, and I've taught my children this, that if you don't participate in government, you have no right to bitch about it. And I think that's kind of where we're reaching here in Lander, is we need more people participating and less bitching. I hope that those who reach out to me, I'm a super busy person. I'm working 2 jobs. I do a bunch of volunteer work. I enjoy those one-on-one conversations. It was great the 4th of July, being able to walk down Main Street and meet people and talk to them and find out their views and their opinions, and them listening to my views and my opinions, and just knowing that Lander is a great community of all the communities I've lived in.
Wow, thank you so much, candidates. We've learned a lot tonight. Thank you so much for coming up here. And I just recognize that, you know, you aren't professional politicians, and you all did a wonderful job. Thank you, really. And I want to thank Maggie and Jackie for their work tonight, and also to our audience. Please make sure that you're registered to vote by calling the Fremont County Clerk. Remember, if you did not vote in the general election in 2024, you've been purged, so you will have to re-register, which takes more effort now because you have to prove your residency as well. Your vote is your voice, and every vote counts. The League is here to continue serving the residents of Fremont County by providing information about elections and issues that influence and affect our electoral process. Please join us either online or in person on July 13th in Riverton at Central Wyoming College Institute for Tribal Learning for the Fremont County Sheriff and the Fremont County Commissioner Forums. They'll begin at 6 o'clock, so you can watch those online through County 10's live feed. Also, the League is participating in WYO Gives, a 24-hour statewide online fundraiser for Wyoming nonprofits. All donations will support voter services like this forum and the voter guides that we do. Donations can be made at wyogives.org on July 15th. Thank you very much, and there's some refreshments in the back.